Како што најавивме, тука во студиото го имаме Јусуф Алхелоу, кој е новинар, известува од Газа, известувал за повеќе меѓународни новинарски организации. Со него ќе разговараме, како што најавивме, за тоа како е да се работи како новинар во Газа, како да се остане професионален покрај се тоа што се случува таму. Mr. Alhелоу, welcome to Studio 10.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's start with the question, how is now in Gaza? How is general situation? Because now we can see the attention of the international community shifting more towards Lebanon, toward the situation there. We are not hearing much about Gaza, but from the news that we can see, we are seeing that the situation is not improving.
Yeah, we are going to reach almost 1 year since Israel's genocide in Gaza, with Palestinians being killed, injured, almost on a daily basis. The situation hasn't improved. It's still worsening day after day because Israel is still controlling Gaza, what goes in, what goes out. There's no safe place in Gaza. Bombardment is ongoing, day, night, 24 hours. F-16s, Apache, drones, tank shelling. And amid international apathy, Palestinians are going to commemorate the murder and killing of 50,000 Palestinians, in addition to 2,000 others who are still under the rubble, and also the injury of 100,000. Many of them, especially children, they lost limbs as a result of amputation.
Did you said 50,000? 50,000, right?
Yeah, 50,000. I
hear correctly.
Yes, 50,000.
Until now, from the start of the Israeli attack, right?
Yes, because you don't only count those who died as a result of direct Israeli strikes, because also some other people who lack medication because of this genocide, they died as a result of Israel's punitive measures. You're talking about thousands of people lost their lives because they suffer as a consequence of this genocide. People still live in tents, in refugee camps, in schools. Many of these schools were targeted many times. There's a starvation taking place in the north where my family is located. I'm from Gaza City. I was born there. I received my education at United Nations schools, and I know the alleyways and streets of Gaza. The northern part of Gaza now has 500,000, because those 500,000, they refused the orders of the Israeli army to evacuate south. In the south, you have 2 million. Gaza is the most densely populated spot on earth. 40 kilometers long, 5 kilometers wide, and you have 2/3 of Gaza population are originally refugees, and half of the population are young people below the age of 20. People suffered in the north from man-made starvation. People lost weight. They cannot find the proper food. Their organs stopped functioning very well. Lack of medication, lack of sleep, psychological impact. Their children, they suffer from diseases because tons of piles of rubbish and garbage fills the street. Sewage flooded the streets. People live in abnormal situation. The Israeli attacks on Lebanon, of course, means that Gaza is off the radar now. But Gaza will always remain the center of suffering, and Israel will actually fail to uproot the morale of the Palestinian people. Now they try to justify their attacks in Gaza under the pretext of self-defense, but what's happening in Gaza is a collective punishment. Israel is using disproportionate force, a crushing force, attacking civilians in their tents. They attacked hospitals, churches. They killed the Christian Palestinians. They killed paramedics, journalists, 162 journalists. They killed civil defense crews. No one was immune. Everyone could be a target now. I lost, sadly, members of my family. I lost my sister and my nephews and nieces, my cousins, my neighborhoods. Our house is destroyed, damaged. So Israel is making Gaza uninhabitable in order to push the people of Gaza towards migration, in order to ethnically cleanse the population. But I think people will stay. They are not going anywhere.
What is happening with the parts of Gaza which are left from inhabitants where the operation started? Has anything left there now?
They destroyed the IOF, Israeli Occupation Forces. They destroyed entire neighborhoods, especially in Beit Hanun, Beit Lahi in the north, Jabalia, and Tel El Hawa in the eastern part. Nothing left. I mean, the Israelis, they continue from time to time to re-invade, carry out incursions. just for the purpose of provocation, to kill more civilians, to destroy maybe a building here, maybe something here. I mean, they run out of targets. There is nothing to bomb in Gaza. 80% of Gaza has been destroyed. And so many people are still under the rubble, buried under the rubble. They even destroyed cemeteries. They destroyed universities, schools, mosques, infrastructure, telecommunication devices, companies, electricity, power, water wells. Anything you can use, you can think of, has been destroyed. So it's just for fun. If they do the incursions again, just for the sake of saying, well, look, we don't want you to even dare to mention the word resistance. So they continue the provocation because they want to prolong their existence in Gaza. They want to reoccupy Gaza, and they are looking for a solution. The reason why this genocide is ongoing, because Netanyahu doesn't know what's the end game, what's next, who's going to rule Gaza. They don't want Hamas to stay in power.
Do we see some kind of fighting between Hamas and Israeli forces? Is Hamas doing anything right now?
Well, the resistance is diminishing a little bit. You know, they have been weakened. Of course, so many fighters were killed. And Israel has got the technology. They were carpet bombing entire neighborhoods, what they call fiery belts. 1,000-ton bombs dropped on a building. Can you imagine? Gaza was hit with thousands and thousands of bombs, and nothing left. So there's still kind of resistance, yes. People say they will support the resistance because they lost their loved ones. But on the other hand, some people, they say enough is enough. You know, we want to have a normal life. We are exhausted. We see from time to time some videos of Palestinian resistance. They attack tanks, they attack armored vehicles. They send their videos and they are published on Al Jazeera. So it's still there, but it has been weakened a lot.
Yes. What is the general stance, public stance in Israel towards the operation? Because we saw some kind of protest in Israel from time to time, but we are not clear what is the message there. Because we didn't see, for example, protests to stop the war, stop the aggression, but they are protesting about Israeli hostages. They are protesting that Netanyahu is not bringing them fast. Soon, something like that.
So the Israeli society, they hold demonstrations in order to pressure Netanyahu to release the hostages and strike a deal with Hamas to release the hostages and then continue the war. They are not protesting, as you say, to call for an end to the war or ceasefire. No, they just want to have the hostages back. So what Netanyahu is doing, he rejected many deals, many ceasefire deals. Hamas has agreed, but he rejected. He kept adding more conditions. He wants to prolong the war in order to drag the American administration feet to the region by waging a war in Lebanon, maybe next Iraq, maybe Iran. And he wants to please the Israeli society because the 7th of October happened during Netanyahu's era. So he doesn't want to leave the political scene without achieving a victory, any kind of victory, by assassinating Haniya in Tehran, by assassinating Nasrallah in Lebanon. And the Israeli society, by the way, they are united. They are against Palestinians. A small percentage who dare to go out into the streets and call for a ceasefire. And those people are marginalized. Because the Israeli media doesn't show the videos that you can see coming from Gaza. Everybody is united behind the Israeli leadership, Netanyahu and his extreme government, because they say the Palestinians attacked Israeli citizens and so on. But the past 355 days in Gaza have been 355 7th of October. Israel justifies this year long under self-defense, but they have killed thousands and thousands of Palestinians.
One of the arguments that Israel is using justifying this war is that Hamas was accepted by Palestinians. They vote for Hamas as their government, and there also that many Palestinians accept Hamas was involved in the attack on Israel beside Hamas, and that Palestinians let's say massively rejoiced after that attack, and they are using those arguments to justify this.
Well, this is a generalization. I mean, those who celebrated, maybe tens, maybe hundreds, but you cannot punish 2.5 million people because of the act of few. And they say Hamas using civilians as human shields. Israeli forces are using civilians in Gaza human shields. You see how they force them naked, put them in trucks, and they blindfold them and ask them to go into buildings to check if there is resistance activities. It is the Israelis who are using Palestinians as human shields. And this justification or this pretext does not give Israel a right to collectively punish everyone. When Hamas was elected, the election was fair. It was held by Jimmy Carter, the former American president. It was the most fair, the only Palestinian election which brought Hamas to power. So Israel is punishing the people of Gaza because they elected Hamas. And why Hamas was elected? Because the other secular party was corrupt. This is what Palestinians say. And it is Israel who deepened the split between the secular party led by Abbas and the resistance movement led by Hamas in Gaza. And the past years before this 7th of October happened, Israel was funneling millions of US dollars through Qatar to Gaza. So Hamas is the product of Israel. It's a result of Israel's occupation. Hamas was supported by Israel in Gaza in order to undermine the Palestinian Authority.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the journalist activity, about the journalist work in Gaza. How is to work under these conditions, especially that you are Palestinian yourself? As you said, you have your members of family there died here. It's I know because I'm a journalist myself. It's very hard to work professional under those circumstances. And how is Israeli stance toward journalists? I mean, if they saw that you have a press signed, does it matter?
So since the start of this genocide, Israel tried to impose a censorship and prevented any foreign journalists from going into Gaza because they want to conceal the truth. Palestinian journalists, they tried their best to report, to expose the crimes. Many of them, they received direct threats from the Israeli intelligence. Many of them, they are hiding now because Israel accused them of covering the infiltration of the border during the 7th of October. They have to suffer, those journalists currently reporting now, they have to suffer about the fate of their loved ones because many of them, they split from their families. They live in the north or the south. They work with the lack of protective gear, no helmet, no vests. There is no internet, there is no electricity. They don't have, the means and tools that they need. So they struggle. Sometimes they don't have a meal to eat because there is no income, and they work, but they don't receive income because no banks operating, no transaction agencies. So they work in a very dangerous circumstances. It's a very dangerous job to be a journalist in Gaza. I myself was reporting from the field. A tank fired shells towards us. You are not immune. A journalist doesn't mean that you enjoy impunity. Israel can justify that by saying that you are a member of Hamas or you are supporting this party or that party. Al Jazeera journalists were killed. Many other people were killed. So anyone who is working as a journalist in Gaza is actually waiting. It's a death sentence because you could be killed by a sniper. You could be killed by a drone. And Israel can justify that.
You said that many journalists had threats from Israeli services. How is that working? How are you receiving those threats?
So by receiving the threats to their mobile phones, either by a phone call or by a text or by a WhatsApp message, because Israel controls the database of the Palestinians. Israel controls the frequency, controls the internet. They have numbers they can reach anybody. And in the previous wars, they used to warn the occupants of the building or the house by making a phone call from the Israeli intelligence, asking him to leave, to evacuate the building because it will be bombed. So they can make phone calls easily. They can spy on the telecommunication devices. They have their own techniques. They have the latest technology. And see what happened with the detonating of thousands of pager devices in Lebanon. So they can infiltrate. They can spy on telephone lines.
what is the stance of the neighboring countries to this conflict, especially of Egypt and Jordan? We are not seeing, maybe we are not seeing from here, but we are not seeing enough efforts to put some kind of pressure on Israel to stop this.
Because they signed peace treaties with Israel, Jordan and Egypt, they are the neighbors of Palestine, Gaza and the West Bank. I think also because they don't recognize Hamas and they have issues with Hamas, so they would rather not to intervene, although they can see the civilian population are suffering. Maybe they are under American pressure not to intervene. Maybe because they don't want the sentiment of resistance to flourish in those countries. They want to, quell any kind of solidarity. Gaza shares a 10-kilometer border with Egypt. The border was shut down by orders from Israel, and now Israel occupies the Philadelphia route, which is the 12-kilometer border fence between Gaza and Egypt. Gaza has no airport. We used to have an airport in the year 2000. I flew from that airport to Cairo. We don't have a seaport. Even fishermen are not allowed to fish, only for a limited nautical miles. So the neighboring countries, they don't tend to intervene because at the end of the day, it's not their issue, and they blame Hamas, because they say Hamas, the one who started this infiltration to the border, and they have to pay the consequences. Other Arab countries in the Middle East, in the region, in the Gulf, also they have issues with Hamas. They say it was Hamas who started this aggression, not Israel. But Israel does not need a justification to start a war or a genocide. Before Hamas came into existence, many atrocities happened, many massacres happened. In the West Bank, Hamas doesn't exist, but yet Israel kills Palestinians on a daily basis, arrest campaigns, annexing settlements, all sorts of settler attacks, violence. So Israel keeps provoking the Palestinians and justifying their attacks by saying that Palestinians started this and that. It's a political game here. Israel raised on violence from the very inception of that state by ethnic cleansing the population, the Nakba of 1948. And now the Nakba is being repeated. Now people are living in tents in Gaza in very humiliating conditions.
So Palestinians in Gaza, but in all of Palestine, don't have, I don't know how to say, they don't have any hope, I guess. They are not waiting for anything, maybe from the United States to stop the aggression somehow. But I don't see that they are waiting for someone to help, because I think that from your perspective as a Palestinian, no one is going to help.
Yeah, Palestinians lost hope in the so-called international community. We've been waiting for this intervention for the past year. Very shy moves here and there by sending aid, but not serious pressure was exercised on Israel to stop this aggression because of the American veto, because of the complicity of some of the Western governments, because of the importation of weapons from some Western governments to Israel. Israel enjoys impunity. You have this spoiled brat that doesn't listen to anybody. And because they exceeded all red lines and they have never been held accountable, that's why they can go on and on and on. So Palestinians, they are hoping on the awakening of the freedom-loving people around the world. They are hoping for a miracle to happen, because as I say, they lost hope. They are in the corner. They are exhausted, and they feel the pain that their fellow Arabs not intervening. So probably things all of a sudden will change. No one knows. But honestly, life is too short, and they are fed up from this hypocrisy and double standard policy. And they say, no one is helping us, so we better, find a solution, find a better future for our children. And although we are known to be a resilient people, but I have to be honest, people started to lose hope. We are looking for a solution to this problem, an end to the occupation, because a ceasefire without ending the occupation Israel will keep provoking, Palestinians will keep resisting, and the cycle of violence will continue forever.
Yes, everyone has a breaking point, everyone has a red line. Mr. Alhelu, thank you for this interview, and I hope if we talk again sometime that it will be on some brighter subject.
I hope so. We hope the safety for our family, and all thanks goes to people worldwide, including in Macedonia, for showing solidarity with our just cause.
Thank you again. Ова беше интервјуто, ви благодариме на вниманието. Продолжуваме со емисијата.